Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and today I'd like to give you my little review of Mafia: The Old Country, now that I've beaten it. And just as an aside, if you'd like to watch me sometimes live stream these games that I play/beat, then be sure to subscribe to the main channel here, essentially, or the Twitch, because I multi-stream to both of those, and sometimes I'll be playing the games that I will be doing little videos on, so there you go. But yeah, Mafia: The Old Country. It's the fourth Mafia game that they've put out, unless I'm unfamiliar with any like weird spin-off ones, but as far as I'm aware, it's 1, 2, 3, and then this one now. It's a prequel to the first Mafia game, so does not come after 3, actually comes before 1. Developed by the usual Hangar 13. Now, I have beaten Mafia 1, I have played some of Mafia 2, and I haven't touched Mafia 3. So that's where I'm coming from experience-wise into this game. Mafia 1, really enjoyed, had a good time with it, it's very solid. 2, I just didn't really enjoy it as much. I think it was like the story pacing. Just with the fact that they went like open world with it. I just think the story really suffered pacing-wise. And then 3 I have no opinion on, but I can only speculate because it wasn't really received that well, but it looked fine, I guess. Not sure if it was like a buggy launch or people just genuinely didn't like the game. But anyway, the premise of this one. Playing as Enzo, young man, toils away in a sulfur mine before being involved with the local Sicilian mafia. It's a pretty standard premise for sort of mafia game, but also kind of unique to the setting and time period here. Now, difficulty-wise, I played on normal difficulty. I was just here for the ride. And honestly, didn't die once, whole way through the game. But it's not really the sort of game that I would say play for the difficulty. It's not a game I was interested in playing for the difficulty, so that worked for me totally fine. I'm not, this is not a bash against it or anything, saying it was too easy. It was just, yeah, played on normal, didn't die once. Because it's not a particularly demanding game in terms of difficulty, at least on that one anyway. Let's speak a little bit on the technical state, because there's a little bit to talk about here, actually. So there would be low FPS drops sometimes. This would just be mainly when out in the open world. You would just be driving around and notice that certain areas or looking in certain directions would just cause your FPS to, like, noticeably drop. And that's not too unfamiliar for, like, games that have, like, sort of wide open areas, and this game certainly does. But it was very noticeable. It was something I noticed quite often. And I was playing with DLSS on. This was at 4K. No frame gen or anything like that. So I could have turned on frame gen, maybe alleviated some of that. But me personally, if I don't have to use frame gen, I won't, because I don't like the input delay. And sometimes there's a lot of artifacting and some like smearing and stuff that happen that I'm not a big fan of. I did also have a singular crash in my about 10 hours of play, so that's not too bad. Did have a boss fight bug out, that was like right at the end, very, very anticlimactic. It was quite funny. If you want to see that moment, do check out the stream. Yeah, that was funny. Went to attack them, and it just kind of moved their character model out of the way because I think some terrain or like an object got in the way, and the boss just froze there, and I couldn't interact with them in any way after that. So I had to pause and reload a checkpoint. So that was a little bit annoying, but it only happened one time. That was the only bug like that I had during the whole gameplay, so not too bad. Just unfortunate where it happened. I did have some shadows flickering on one level, which was very weird because it didn't happen anywhere else, and I had been in similar locations to where this was happening, so it's very strange. I don't know if this was particular to that level, or if I just got lucky other times, or just got unlucky this time, but it was really distracting. Like, it was, like, flickering quite a lot, very noticeable, very jarring, If that had been happening more, that would have really put a dampener on the game for me, but just because it only happened in this one area, it was like, it's whatever. The sort of most common thing that you'll see is that there's very minor pop-in quite regularly. If you're looking for it, you will see it. But I do say it is minor pop-in. If you're not looking for it, there's a very high chance that you just won't even notice it's happening, which is why I don't regard it as like a big, like, oh, major gripe against the game. But like I said, if you're particularly sensitive to texture pop-in, or even just like LOD pop-in, you're probably gonna notice it from time to time. But it is what it is. Again, for me, not a major thing. But that's really it for the technical state. Not too bad. There's a couple little things I'd love to see ironed out there, but, you know, not terrible. Not game-breaking, not absolutely, you know, destroying my experience, but just every now and again. We're not talking Cyberpunk on launch here. My visuals. Visuals, wow, okay. Visuals, this game looks gorgeous. The Sicilian countryside that you are looking at pretty much all the time here is fantastic. So nice to look at. Every, like, mission I got where it was like, hey, you have to go drive over here now, I was just like, yes, absolutely, I will do that. There's an option to skip the drives. Don't even hit me with that button. I want to see it. I want to see it all. Absolutely gorgeous. And this extends to not just like the general vistas that you're looking at, but also like individual like textures and like clothing on people, textures on the cars, the materials. Like it all just looks really, really good. You know, generally fantastic looking game all around. Facial animations are also just absolutely fantastic. There's no time I was really looking at anyone going like, damn, they are a 3D model that is being rigged and, you know, strings pulled and all that sort of stuff. Like every character just looked and everything looked like it belonged in this world, and absolutely fantastic. No bad word to be said on the visuals. Certainly. Now, to move on to another really good thing as well, the music and sound design. The music is very good. Now, I will have the OST playing under as I speak here. The music is fantastic, especially the main theme. The main theme, they use it a couple of times throughout the game. Really, really well. Different versions of it, like light versions for like lighter moments, and like big bombastic ones for like the bigger moments. Really, really fantastic. All the music fits fantastically, and there's some real standouts there. If you are going to listen to the OST, the Old Country and the Karusu, both fantastic songs. Love them. The voice acting, also fantastic. All of that just works absolutely beautifully. I didn't hear a single voice actor that I was like, damn, you know, they sound like they're phoning it in, or they sound like they're not as good as the rest. Everyone was up to a certain quality level, and that quality level was high. So I'm listening to all the voice actors, I'm listening to these scenes, and fantastic. No bad word to say there. Stuff like general, like, sound effects, like gunshots, and, like, car engines, horses, like, you know, galloping along the streets and stuff like that. All that works really well, too. Nothing particularly standout, it all just works for what it is. I'd say the gunshots do feel like nice and punchy, somewhat. Some of them can be a little bit like, you know, maybe a little bit more punch there would have been nice, but nothing too crazy. Now, speak on the gameplay. Because the gameplay is an interesting one, and it's simple. The gameplay in this game is very simple. Does the job, absolutely does the job that it needs to do, but not a bit more than that. So, the shooting. You're going to be doing a lot of shootouts. Feels fine. If you've played any third-person shooter that has a cover system, you know exactly what to expect here. There is absolutely nothing like too crazy. I would say the only thing is like maybe the aiming is like a little bit wavy to kind of give it like a bit more difficulty, because otherwise you really would just be snapping onto people and just dead. So this is with controller, by the way, I should say as well. I did not use mouse and keyboard for this game. It felt like a very controller game to me, so I played it with controller. The gunplay and like general aiming and stuff felt fine on the controller. Like I said, it did just have some like artificial like, you know, waviness to give the shooting some actual like challenge and stuff. And then after that, you're also doing a lot of stealth. That would be, if there was like two halves to this main gameplay, those would be the two prominent ones. Now there is like another little bit in there, another few bits and pieces, but the two things you'll be doing the most are gunplay and stealth. The stealth is very choreographed. It's not particularly challenging. It's mainly you'll go into a stealth area, and you'll see this happen like almost every time. Once I noticed the pattern of this happening, it was everywhere. But you will go into a stealth area, you will walk up to the first bit of cover, you'll take cover behind it, and then someone or two guys in front of you will say a little line of dialogue, and then they will walk off, and that's your first person to like go kill, or knock out, or sneak past or something. This happens like rinse and repeat like every time. Every character has like an extremely stiff patrol area, and it's almost like you can see the pieces of this stealth like put together. It's interesting because it's not like it's not hard. It's just kind of like it wants to give you the idea of stealth without being like annoying stealth, you know? Which, you know, for some people like that could be really off-putting, or for some people like that's kind of what they're there for, is they want the idea of stealth, but they don't want the hassle, the annoyances of stealth. So I can kind of understand that from both perspectives. Now, sometimes you will be driving. You kind of get a choice sometimes in the game. Sometimes you'll be riding a horse. Sometimes you'll be driving a car. Sometimes you get the choice of either or. Pretty much any time I was given a choice, I chose the car, because the car just feels more fun to drive than the horses feel to ride, so that's why I did that. The cars feel nice and weighty. If you've played any of the other Mafia games, although I can't speak to 3, you know that the car handling just feels generally very weighty and very nice, or at least I'm personally a big fan of it. There's also an option in the settings menu to make the driving handle like way more realistically, like how a car like this from this time period would handle. I tried it a little bit, and it's tough. Like, those cars handle rough, but in like a good way, like how you would expect it to. Reminded me very much of Mafia 1, and I think Mafia 2 had that as well, where it just made the cars like genuinely hard to drive. You had to really take your time and focus. But really enjoyed the driving gameplay. One thing that always surprises me about the Mafia games is they're in time periods where the cars are very slow compared to, like, say, modern cars or modern racing games and stuff, but they still know how to make them feel like fast, you know, comparatively to their timeline and stuff. Location and time, you know, time period, all that sort of stuff. So they feel really good. Driving feels really good. Really love the driving. They're actually I think they're gonna add like a free drive mode or something later. I think I saw something about that, which is a really good idea, because this, you know, the countryside you're driving is absolutely gorgeous. The driving feels good. It's something I could see people wanting to do. Now, there was also an upgrade system. This one is really funny to me. Like, the first time I saw it, it was really funny, because it's not like gun upgrades. Like, guns and stuff like that, you buy new versions, like better versions, you don't upgrade your guns. The upgrade system is for your character's rosary. And this is one of those, like, story and setting meets gameplay requirement sort of combination zones, and it's just so funny to me when the tutorial popped up and it was like, upgrade your rosary, because it's just a funny mental image, upgrading my rosary to get gameplay benefits. But it does a job. You find collectibles as you're exploring levels, and they can give you either a major slot or a minor slot. The minor slots give, like, you know, less powerful buffs, and the major ones give, like, quite large ones. You start with one of each, and you'll get loads. You'll get loads of the minor ones. The major ones, you don't really get that many, but they're more hidden. They're a lot more hidden, harder to find, because they have bigger gameplay implications. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the knife fighting. This seems like the thing that they were like, okay, we need to spice up our gameplay somewhat. This game needs to have some gameplay aspect that is different from, like, everything else, and this is what they went for. You will be doing a lot of knife fighting. There's an entire knife fighting moveset where it changes into, like, a third-person, almost like fighting game, like over-the-shoulder kind of look. It's fun. It is interesting. However, the only part of it that is a little bit funny is that the game will force the story to have these moments. You'll have moments in the story where a character could have shot someone, or a very convoluted thing will happen, and it will result in this knife fight. So you just gotta be aware that, you know, out of nowhere, the game will just pluck a situation and go, okay, knife fight time, you know, with this like boss character, this prominent character. It's how they do the boss fights, essentially. And the knife fighting is fun. It's extremely easy, much like the other parts of the gameplay. If you take even a few minutes to just really learn the buttons, instead of just throwing yourself into it, you could very realistically do almost every knife fight without taking damage. In fact, there was I think the most I got hit was like the first fight where someone did some of the unblockable moves, and I just forgot what the dodge button was. You know, that was about it, really. But they're really good for the boss fights, because the characters are like talking back and forth at each other. So it sets up like really good like story moments for these boss fights instead of just like, you know, the same old we're shooting at each other but yelling at each other, and now I'm running away, and now, you know, more yelling, that sort of thing. So that was quite different. I like that. I did like the knife fighting aspect, and they do feel fun. The music's great during them. The only minor gripe is that whenever you do a parry on someone, it stops their line of dialogue. So if you're particularly enjoying the back and forth that two characters are happening, don't do any of the parries because it will skip dialogue, which is a little bit annoying. But it is what it is. Now, the story. The story is great. Love the story. It's what you're here for. You're here for the setting, you're here for the premise, you're here for the characters, and you're here for the story. That is what you're playing this game for. The characters are all fantastic. None of them felt like weak characters. They all felt like very real characters in the moment, in the setting, in their positions. All felt incredibly real. Really liked all of them. There's no character I can think of and I go like, yeah, just didn't really like them, or, you know, everyone fit their role perfectly. Fantastic. Now, interestingly, I'm not going to speak on like actual things that happen in the story, but actually I might, who knows, well, I'll think about that one, put a pin in that. First half of the story, though, very similar to the first Mafia game, to the point where I thought they were almost doing a redo of that story in a different place and different characters and stuff. It was like, oh my god, we're doing this bit from the first game, oh my god, this is this bit from the first game, oh my god, this bit, you know, it just happened again and again and again. But the second half is quite different and really throws some wrenches into the gears and some surprises. And but that's not to say that this story is going to completely blow your mind, or you're going to be hit with the M. Night Shyamalan like super twist ending that you never saw coming. There's some surprises, certainly, but you can probably tell what way this game is going. At least by the midway point, you're like, okay, I know where we're going. It's not particularly like hidden, but it's a really well told story. And like I said, there are some surprises in there, certainly for me. So as I was going through it, I was still like, oh wow, you know, this is how, oh wow, that happened? I didn't expect that. Oh wow, this character's doing that. Oh wow, didn't expect that, you know, so it's good. The writing is also really fun. If you like this sort of setting, if you like this sort of media, you like Mafia media, you'll love the writing. It's really good. All the characters sound exactly like they should sound. It's fun, I think, is one of the biggest ones. You know, it just sounds like it's just really fun writing. You know, you could tell the devs and the writers and stuff just had a good time writing all of this. And some moments get like, you know, really personal, and like it knows really when to have those like really personal moments, like more dark moments. But at the same time, it knows how to have that lighthearted sort of flair to it. It's just good all round writing. No character stood out as like, oh, their writing isn't as strong, stuff like that. Maybe some characters kind of like force the issue a little bit where it wouldn't otherwise really happen, stuff like that. But that feels more like a story constraint rather than a writing constraint. It's like, okay, the story kind of needs to happen this way. We've kind of written ourselves over here, written. But yeah, it's very minor stuff in that regard. It's generally very fun. And like I said, the latter half of the game, really enjoyed. Had the most fun in the second half of the game. But not to say that the first half was bad by any means. It's just was very familiar to me. So, to kind of give a conclusion on this, you're mostly along for the ride when it comes to this game. In terms of like gameplay and story, you know, your gameplay isn't going to be like influencing stuff or anything like that. So you're just really along for the ride of the story and the writing and the characters and the setting. But it's a fun ride. Do not play this game for its gameplay. Do not get this game for its gameplay. Think of the gameplay as just some other little side bits that you get to enjoy while you're also experiencing this gameplay, or while you're experiencing this story and writing. Doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it is a very solid wheel. And I would definitely recommend it, especially to those who have played the other Mafia games, or just enjoy Mafia media in general. Like, I don't know, you like The Godfather or something. No, you'll probably like this. Yeah, solid game. Very solid. Like I said, not like an absolute banger, 10 out of 10, greatest game of all time. It's not going to be up there for Game of the Year awards. But it's just really good. And it's not too long either. The game's about 10 hours, give or take. And if you really wanted to go looking for like all the secrets and stuff, you'd probably add like another couple of hours onto there, but Short and sweet, very good, solid, doesn't reinvent the wheel, very good wheel though, would recommend. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching my review, and I shall catch you on the next one. Goodbye.